Good afternoon, Nigerians. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another edition of Editors Forum on Galaxy Television. I am Layo Shubo Folorum Show, and it's a pleasure to welcome you on this program where we discuss issues on the front burner during the week and have solution-driven discussions around them. Definitely, it's been another week of many happenings in Nigeria. As we saw on Monday, the federal government talked about securing $1.5 billion concessional loan from the World Bank. And going by Tuesday was International Day of Poverty Eradication. And we saw the federal government launch a renewed hope conditional cash transfer of 25,000 naira each for 15 million households in Nigeria. We saw that on TV, and the report has reported also by Galaxy Television. And that program is, according to the federal government, will be running for 3 months. That means the households will be getting 25,000 naira for 3 months, totaling 75,000 naira. And as the week was about to run off, we saw the federal government made ASU and NARD happy, so to say, by taking off the no work, no pay order, which means ASU will be getting 4 months salaries out of the 8 months they were on strike in 2022, and the National Association of Resident Doctors will also be getting their pay during the 17-day period while they were on strike in 2023. This maybe is some good news to the associations. However, the president made it clear that this will be the last time, the last waiver of such that will be given to both associations and other associations or unions in the health and education sector. Those are not the main topics for today, just to give you a review, so to say, of the things that happened during the week. But one other thing I would like us to have a very quick reaction on is another thing that came up on Friday. And before I let you know that, I'll have to introduce my guests to the house. I have with me in the studio professionals, yes, in their fields who will be doing justice to the topics of discussed today. I have Mr. Leko Shote, is a senior colleague, a columnist on the Punch newspaper, and also an accountant by profession. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure, or I hope that Editors Forum guests will be so glad to have you back. Yeah, because it's been quite a while.
It's a long time. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
And
you.
Definitely, I have. I want to qualify you with an adjective. So my ever ready, yes, my ever ready and ever open guest. There is no time I communicate with Mr. Oshomole that he doesn't, he's not open to me. Thank you so much. He is Mr. Oshomole R. Inuma. He is the Assistant National General Secretary, the Guild of Public Affairs, Public Affairs Analyst, yes, of Nigeria. He's a journalist, media consultant, and so many more. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
It's my pleasure, and I would have loved you to also introduce Mr. Shote as a Vice President, Guild of Public Affairs.
Oh, yes. I was asking, actually, and he just made it simple. Don't just say columnist, All right, so I'll have to do that under the Vice President.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, sir. Okay, so the topic, the item I would actually like us to give a quick reaction to before we go to the topics of discuss today is the governor of Niger State on Friday saying the insecurity situation that's resurfacing in the country is as a result of climate change. And while personally I do not feel cool about that, but I would like to have your opinion on it. And he also mentioned that this climate change issues and insecurity in the country are underreported by the media. And he mentioned something that I think affects us all as media practitioners, that maybe the media is not equipped enough in handling the stories. So do you think he is right with all of these submissions? Just a very quick reaction.
Well,
I'll start with
let me cast my mind back as far as the 1970s. Instead of calling it climate change, they were calling it desertification. And I remember Daily Times, because the leading newspaper, the flagship newspaper of that time, ran desertification, meaning that it's a long thing that has been happening for 4-5, at least that I can remember, that 4-5 decades now. And then we now start to call it climate change. I was on an interview with a Ghana station, TV station, either last year or 2021, and the other panelist was somebody from Ghana and a professor from, I think, Mali, so the French-speaking country. And from the discussions, what I gathered is that the climate change is adversely affecting the economy of the Sahel, the entire Sahel, from Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Central African Republic, Sudan, that belt, you know. And so, coupled with what we now know of the very evil policy of the French, you know, even as they were withdrawing from what you call Francophone countries, they put some very harsh, very wicked, evil policies that drained the economies and was going to make them poor forever, some of which we are down here now. And so there's poverty in that axis. And so, and then don't forget also that they are migratory people, essentially. They bring in their cattle and all that, you know, and here. So for grazing, because desertification, or if you like, climate change has already affected the vegetation in that area. So they have to look for better places, and that's why they can. You all recall during the Buhari administration, they came with all kinds of solutions to help them.
Open grazing.
Ruga, open grazing, yes. Go and reopen the old routes for them and all that, you know. So people who are desperate, they say a hungry man is an angry man. So you won't be too surprised at the violence that accomplished, because you have to be a renegade, you have to be a vanguard, you have to be a vagabond, if you like, to be able to survive in such very harsh environment. So when you see somebody who has something, you steal, and then they kill and violence. And then don't also forget, in 2011, after the collapse of the Libyan regime, the government and the economy and the country became a failed state up till now. We have about 2 or 3 different people contending to be leading. So I think small arms that has escaped into people's hands is now freely, you know, used. And so people who are not under any commander and they have guns, they can do. And I think that's why all this is happening.
No, well, thank you very much for that exposition. Okay, so we'll go look at this report, and when we return, we'll delve into the topics of the day. Just stay with us.
Of the election tribunal certainly did not go down well with some politicians and political parties. This follows allegations and petitions against state tribunal judges, just as some political parties and their candidates had alleged that the judges at the state tribunals had been compromised by governors. These aggrieved parties feel they may suffer the same fate if the appeals are to be determined in the various states. In a swift reaction, the president of the Court of Appeal has asked parties and the council to move all appeals arising from election petition cases across the country to the Abuja and Lagos divisions of the appellate court. Will this make any difference?
As far as I'm concerned, from my own opinion, there may be a kind of cumbersomeness in bringing all these cases together. We have 20 divisions of Court of Appeals in Nigeria, and only 2 will be determining all these cases. And we should know that anything about election is sui generis. It is very special. Nobody can extend the time. We should look at the timing of how to look onto these appellate cases, and with lot of speed that will make even the judiciary work to be easier. I don't know the reason behind this by the president of Court of Appeal. I know the Court of Appeal president may have his own reason, but as far as I'm concerned as a politician, I think it's much more better that all other divisions are active to deal with all these appellate cases at a record time.
And you must also know that even for these various cases, most of the lawyers are coming from Abuja and Lagos. You know, in Ogun State here, a lot of our lawyers came from Abuja. A lot of lawyers from the opposition came from Abuja, you know, and it happens in many other states. You know, all these big, fat pocket SAMs are based in Lagos, Abuja, and probably Port Harcourt. So I think that it is for justice to be better delivered. It is to also allow other judges to go back to their cases at the state level.
Will this transfer guarantee any form of independence, integrity, and impartiality of the appellate court?
But to me, I don't really think it's going to affect the independence, so to speak. There is nothing that they will have done in some of those appellate divisions, Court of Appeal divisions, that I think cannot happen, whether they're in Lagos or they're in Abuja. It's just a stone throw from each other. They get on board on flights, do whatever thing that they want to do. So to a large extent, I do not want to believe that this is going to reduce what we call the dependence of the judiciary, or is going to increase or improve the integrity of the judiciary. That is my own opinion.
Will this new directive lead to any form of administrative bottlenecks, considering the pending cases before the justices of the appeal court?
You know, Nigeria is what it is today because we are not really developing as is expected. We are having virtual hearing, which I think it is good. It is a new development. This is practicable in any of this advanced world. So it is a right step in the right order. Don't forget the issue of power, among other logistics that are not there. You'll be thinking about data, internet access. You'll be talking about power itself. So these are among our challenges that we are having. We are not going to have it, a perfect one day. But I really think it is something that we should begin to emulate.
The Abuja division is expected to handle appeals from 19 northern states, while 17 southern states cases will be heard in Lagos.
Alright, you're welcome back to Editors Forum, and with that report we have the first topic we'll be looking at today, the movement of electoral appeal court cases to just one state and the FCT, that is Lagos and Abuja, as declared by the president of the appeal court. So first of all, what is your take on that? I'll start with you now.
Yeah, I saw you were very cautious the way you status you give to Abuja. You wanted to say two states.
I wanted to say one, of course.
So I hope you won't be called as a witness to Supreme Court to justify that.
I have clarified that Lagos State and the FCT.
No, even if you had said two states, some are saying that.
Let's have the context of the law.
So then, let me start by saying, when you look at the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Tosho, what he said last week in Akwa Ibom, he said, the compromise of, what do we call it, judiciary, the loss of confidence in the judiciary is the shortest way to anarchy. Yes. He said that. I didn't say that. And he is in position to know better that what he is saying is but if you look what has happened to this country, he's not saying anything new or short of from the truth. Because if you look at what happened from June 12 annulment, where judiciary was used to subvert the will of the people, and the Association for Better Nigeria, ABN, as championed by Chief Aton Zeribe of blessed memory, had to be used. Judiciary was used to subvert that. So Justice John Tosho was right on point to say loss of confidence in the judiciary is a recipe for anarchy. And you would agree there have been complaints, from and petitions, from different quarters to the NJC and all that, and to the president of the Court of Appeal, that the emperors of different states, and I'm referring to governors.
Emperors.
Yes, emperors. They are emperors. They wield and exercise so much and immense powers than even the president. So there have been petitions and complaints to the NJC, to the president of the appeal court that, look, these people are breathing heavily on judges of the tribunals. Can you do something about it, please, so that we don't run into anarchy? So to an extent, if we look at it from that angle, you want to agree that the president of the appeal court has done something good. It might not really have been what we would have recommended, but then it's better to judge than to war. So little inconveniences here and there, and if that will bring back the confidence, the integrity that will bring peace and harmony, then I think we can all settle for that.
But going by your discussion on emperors, these governors also have affiliations with other states' governors. All of them sort of work together. They are friends and in politics and all. So if we say moving to just Lagos and Abuja, then they won't have so much power over the appeal courts. Then don't you think they can also use affiliation one way or the other to also influence judgments?
Well, what I'm going to say is almost completely different from what you probably expected to say. We need to prove it here. It's INEC that fails to conduct elections without having the judges to come and start to straighten the issues. Why would I come from Bayelsa State, travel all the way to Lagos, look for hotel accommodation, food, logistics, the inconveniences, simply because INEC fails to do the job despite the huge budget that is voted for INEC? I think the shoe should be on the other foot, that whenever I have to come from Bayelsa State to come to Lagos as a petitioner, and if I win, INEC should defray all my costs, because it is the inconveniences of INEC that made me to have to institute a legal process against INEC or against whoever and my opponent, and then if I win, then INEC should defray my costs. Do you understand? Rather than us anybody putting me into inconveniences, Now, maybe to now address your question. We are then admitting the Chief Justice of she is now admitting that the old landmarks of ethics and professionalism have collapsed, so that she now needs to put judges in silos so that governors will not be able to break down their necks. Just as you have observed, who tells you that the Lagos State governor and the Minister for Federal Capital Territory, who was a former governor, who was a member of the Nigerian Governors Forum, cannot now call his friends? You remember 2 or 3 days ago, Wike took his the 5 governors to visit the president. That means the network is still available.
Still there.
So just a phone call or a text message, if indeed you want to use the governor of Lagos State to breathe down the neck of whoever is, So this thing has to do with, and it's not new. In 1963, the treasonable felony charge against Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a certain judge, whose son later became the Minister of Foreign Affairs of this country. I don't want to mention it, I don't want to embarrass anybody. That man was the judge in that court that was supposed to try that case. But because the government of the First Republic knew that they could not breathe down his neck, they gave him a temporary promotion and sent him to another court and brought a pliable judge to conclude, to sit on the case and sentence Awolowo and his friends to jail. And then after the judgment was delivered, this judge was taken back to his lower court, and the other justice who actually owns that court was brought back. So this is not a new thing. But to really be serious, there has to be an amendment to the law to make INEC responsible. If I am a politician and I'm able to compromise INEC official, that's their business. When the other person will rig election against him and then he goes to court, INEC should be made to defray his. That would probably make INEC officials more serious, rather than put the burden on these poor judges that we are now, is either we are treating them as kids, or we think that they are moral, what is it, is so low, that you now have to corral them and put them in silos and say, oh no, governors, I mean, okay, why not say they should all go to River State or Enugu State, where, you know, for southern cases? It just doesn't make sense. Why do you want to put me into all my lawyers and their assistants? They'll
have to journey,
fly by air or by road and all that, simply because you cannot guarantee the integrity, professional and ethical integrity of your judges. Something is wrong.
It's a self-indictment.
Yeah. And then talking about law, I think this will also tilt towards mandating INEC to, upload the election results on IREF immediately as elections, because that was a thing.
I don't have any faith in that. Because
that was a thing going by the general elections.
Look, I don't have any.
You want to start?
People have tried to get
discussion on
into that discussion. I say, listen, there's something called glitch, which means failure of technology. Apart from it failing, somebody can induce it to fail. And then you cannot trace anything to anybody. So what do we do? Okay, as we are on air now, something happens,
maybe the power,
and then they can't hear us. And then we say, because I'm saying something against the government, and then nobody can hear us. People are going to say, go for Tonso. And then after I've finished the nonsense that you don't want to hear, then they now bring me back and start talking. They now say, they call it glitch, but you and I will know that somebody just muted me so that they will not hear what I'm saying, because the moderator could not
maybe pin you,
make me to stop talking, and then the show is on, and then they say mute him, and then
okay.
So glitch could be glitch, and it could be induced.
Well, all right. Coming back to it, looking at 19 northern states to approach, Abuja, 17 to Lagos. That would be cumbersome, of course. So what challenges aside that do you see?
Justice delayed is justice denied. The whole place will be piled up with cases, and these people write long hard. They do all these things.
I mean,
I'm sure so it's going to be a lot more.
It takes hours.
And then it now becomes difficult to meet the deadline for cases to be heard and disposed of.
All right. So you wanted to say something the other time.
Yeah, I was when Mr. Shetty was talking about the glitch and all that. I said, whether glitch or no glitch, you actually have it like in the Constitution escape route. That look, as the Electoral Act is a bit contradictory. You said, look, the results have to be uploaded, and real time people have to view. But you also said that in any case where it can't be uploaded, that manual should be used. Come on, we just have to portray and
Make up our
project.
mind.
We need to project ourselves to the whole world like serious human beings. You can't go forth and back like you don't know what, like you're a drunkard, you don't know what you're doing. So if you want to go on manual, you go on manual. If you want to go up, you don't go spend almost 300 billion naira on equipment and personnel training. You come back and say, well, in case it doesn't work. So if you knew it wouldn't work and there will be no consequence on that, so why spending so much and wasting people's time? Please, can we move on?
All right, definitely that is where we'll have to go to the next topic of the day, and we'll also be having a report to that, and that is the federal government, debts, loans, and everything accrued to the nation. Let's see this report when we return. The discussion continues.
According to a quarterly debt report released by the Debt Management Office (DMO) published recently, Nigeria's total public debt, federal and state government, has hit over 49.85 trillion naira at the end of the first quarter of 2023. The latest figure increased by 3.60 trillion from the sum of 46.25 trillion recorded at the end of December 2022. According to the report, the 5 countries Nigeria is owing include China, France, Japan, India, and Germany. The agency said Nigeria owes these 5 countries a total of $5.16 billion as of March 2023, marking an increase of 2% compared to the $5.07 billion in December 2022. DMO said Nigeria has borrowed $4.34 billion from China through the Exim Bank of China, making loans from that country eating 84% of the country's total bilateral debt, implying that the Asian country is Nigeria's largest creditor.
The issue of loan is more like a burden. Nigeria already had more than enough loans to repay. I think for us in this country, we shouldn't be looking in the direction of loan. To be frank with ourselves, we should look for other alternatives. We can generate more revenue, meet up with our infrastructures, especially the area we have deficits. But for loan now, it's like you are getting more deficit, more minuses for children unborn.
Fundamentally, loans are meant for investments that should ordinarily generate resources that will pay back those loans. And unfortunately, the loans we've been collecting over time is not even loans that are tailored towards investing so that they can pay back itself. You find out that from the revenue that is not even part of what the loans were, we are now making payments. And if you look at the budget analysis, that over 90% of our revenue goes back towards repaying debt. So it's unfortunate that we are still paying this part, and I think the new administration, the Tinubu administration, should think properly before embarking on any loan.
I think that we need a loan. Why? Because the Sukuk loan that they collected before, they have not finished payment. And the worst thing is that they keep on collecting loan upon loan upon loans, and nothing is happening. They are only using it for their own self. They don't use it for the development of the country. If they have been using this loan for development of the country, at least like infrastructure, like schools, industries, and electricity, so that at least if they build more industries, like Kaduna, like the refineries and the industry in Kaduna, at least it will have employed many people. And when they employ many people, it is from there they'll be getting money to pay back the loan.
The Obasanjo time, they were able to forgive some of our loan for us. But we discovered that in recent time, most especially from 2015 till up till now, there are a lot of accumulated loan and the interest that Nigeria economy have been suffocating and struggling because of all those loans. And I, for one, I thought the present regime or the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would have learned from immediate past government not to go back to where we are coming from.
Apart from the Chinese government, Nigeria has also borrowed heavily from other countries in close proximity to China, with the country owing France a whooping sum of $593.75 million and Germany $144.75 million, Japan $62.02 million, and India $26.64 million. Its development remains abysmal and slow, more so when a number of the projects being and to be financed by the loan are either revenue generating or have the potential to generate revenue. Nigerians think that finding more revenue bases and genuine diversification of the economy will help to reduce the incessant borrowing of the country.
We have a lot of minerals in Nigeria. We have solid minerals, we have gas, we have flaring gas. Why don't we find a way to trap all those gases that we are flaring, activated gas, when they are exploring crude oil in the Niger Delta or even in northern basins that we just newly discovered. Get all those gas together and sell it. It's a huge money. I read the other day that I think it was around June that we have flared 500 and something million dollar worth of gas from January to June this year. So you can imagine what 500 and something million can do for an economy like this.
But if you're collecting loan for consumption, it's a problem. And that was what Buhari was doing. And that was why we were complaining about loan. But if you channel your loan, there's no country that doesn't collect loan. But how do you channel the loan? To productive aspects, to developmental aspects.
From that report, we have a lot of figures and facts definitely given, so I wouldn't want to bore us with all of those. My sirs, you've been sighing and then so Mr. Shonte, can I have your take generally, first of all, on these loans?
Well, as an accountant, I would tell you that theoretically there's really nothing wrong. There's something we call gearing, which means that if I had 10 naira to invest, and I know I will make a profit of 5 naira, if I got a loan of another 10 naira, and I make another 5 naira, but I have to pay back 2 naira 50 to the person paying me a loan. I have already traded with somebody else's money to increase my revenue, which is fantastic. So technically or theoretically, there's really nothing wrong. But where we're running a system where we're going to use 160 million to buy SUVs for how many people? For each one of them.
It's been purchased.
Okay. I was a government accountant. There's something they call training. People just go on training to nowhere. They just waste money. They prepare training materials, which they don't even come and reflect when they come back. They stay in hotels. They just enjoy
expensive ones.
They are just wasting money, on so many things. And then, according to Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, who was our Minister for Finance at 2016, she said that the federal government was borrowing 165 million naira every month to pay salaries. That's how many years ago now?
7 years now.
So I don't know how much it is that we are borrowing now. Such that 96% of our revenue is going to debt servicing. The person who says they are to repay debt is wrong, is not correct. It's just the loan is still sitting. And then it's getting worse in the sense that the foreign loan aspect of our loan gets higher as the naira depletes, depreciates. So it keeps getting worse and worse. So before it gets better, it's probably going to get worse. Okay? Now, what do? Somebody said as long as we have to continue to import, listen, 40% of our foreign exchange expenses goes to import petroleum products. For a country that has the raw material, why would you spend 40% of your foreign exchange, either loan or earnings or whatever, to import petroleum products? Okay? Then you have the farms. Have you gone to the market? Have you seen that there's no chicken or no poultry in the market now? All you buy is beef and fish. Nobody is selling chicken and turkey. Have you observed that?
I haven't. Maybe I should.
Please, you should go and find out. So it means that there's a problem in that area. Now, why our farms are not secure? And I was asking, these people that they called civil defense, they're always snatching for jobs. They should be deployed to the farms to safeguard the farms so that we can at least, if we don't want to export, no problem, but let's at least produce what we will eat. That will reduce the pressure on these things. But to go back, what do we spend the money on? It is on big government. 70% of government budget goes onto overheads. The remaining 30 is supposed to be capital projects. But do you guess what? Even within that 30% is loan repayment. So at the end of the day, practically everything goes into just wasteful spending. So until and unless the political elite understand the need for them to change their orientation such that, for example, people are, OPEC has given Nigeria a certain level of quota. We meet it in the bridge. What stops us? There's conspiracy between security people and senior oil executives and then senior government executives, and they are sealing the oil. Revenue that should, at least, even if you want to, somebody, have a friend say, always support your habit. Even if you want to steal money, let it be money that you earn, not loans that you collect, and then all of us will not have to pay. And then you are hoping that something will just happen. And then look at our governments. The number of SSAs, this government has how many ministers now? 48. America, that is the biggest economy in the world. All the ministers, both cabinet rank, and they are less than 26. Ministers alone are already 48. And then SSAs, the SA to the SA, the SSA to the SSA.
The president has a lot of SAs and SSAs, the vice president, the ministers also have.
Then
House of Reps, House of Reps,
you see convoy.
Also have.
You wonder what is going on. Prime Minister Aldo Moro, who was killed in 1970 something, he was Prime Minister of Italy. As Prime Minister, he was teaching in the University of Rome. He was a lawyer. He would take the bus, subway, train from the office of the Prime Minister to go to the University of Rome to go and teach and go back. Does it mean that there's no insecurity in that country? No, but he knew, why do we need to? I saw a video of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, not yesterday or this morning. He took a train to somewhere, I can't remember where, and then somebody tried to collect his bag. He said, no, let me. But you will see somebody, while somebody is carrying the bag, and that person will carry umbrella where it is not raining. Somebody will, then, have you seen the Senate President come out of his car and somebody helping him to adjust his agbada the way you would do for a king?
This is protocol.
And I just wonder, is this funny and I'm looking for the English word now. This look, whatever it is, that you have to now make the man look as if he's a special human being. He's just a speaker. Listen, the office of the citizen is superior even to the office of the president, because you have to be a citizen first before you become anything in this country. And so that tells you that it is the most fundamental, most important. We need to service that office, make policies service that office. So you, if we allow you to be our president, you know that you are going to serve us, not the other way around, be doing KBC for you. It's just not the way it's supposed to be. So we are running a system that even the accountants don't even know how to stop them. We have political elites who are, I'm looking for a very sane word that will not offend our viewers. Okay, our political leaders, the political elite, do not care about the welfare of the people.
Okay,
they think only about themselves only. And that is the basic, their value system. Their value system is to administer their personal administration only. And they don't really care what happens to anybody.
I quickly want to just put this out there, because talking about debt, we are seeing the federal government, but a report from the Debt Management Office as of June 30 says our external debt is total of $43,159.19, and out of that, federal government has $38,809.98, and then states, and because when we talk of debt, we don't look at states and the FCT now. The states and FCT have a total of 4,349.2. I just
look,
want to put that out so that we can have, not focus on the federal government.
Let us focus on federal government. The way our system runs, it is the federal government that finances the states. That's why it appears everybody is considering the federal government. It is the federation account that provides money for these states. How many states have a credible, reasonable IGR? Outside of Lagos State, outside of Rivers State, probably Kano, and Abba local government is also viable. Where else? Because the system we are running, we have made it impossible for states to become rich. Do you understand? We made it impossible. Think about this. I was working with a federal government organization, and I was based in Owerri. We needed broom. Our headquarters was in Lagos. They went to Calabar to buy broom, brought it to Lagos, and then they distributed it to all of us, and they also gave to us in Imo State. They also gave to Calabar, where they bought the broom in the first place. So that's the kind of system that we are running. It's as absurd as that. So that's the problem.
Okay, Mr. Enuma, over to you.
Let me quote National Bureau of Statistics. There is something wrong with us as an entity, and I think every electionary year has and it comes with its burdens and baggages. Let me quote them. From first quarter of this year, in the interest of our viewers, quarter means the first 4 months. We had debt of 49.85 trillion naira, and that is $108.3 billion. But just at the beginning of second quarter, which starts from May, so if we were up, that was handing over month through June, July, August, we have gone to 87.38 trillion naira. From 49.8 trillion naira to 87.38 trillion naira. Now, that represents 75.27%, or that is rate of quarter-on-quarter basis. But then let's look at the growth at the same time, at the same period. It was just second quarter of the same year, the growth was just 2.51%. 2.15%, 2.51% compared to 75.27% of debt. So what it means, you would understand that if you quickly flip to what we have gone through, having to borrow and borrow, before the last administration stepped aside and got exhausted, because even if they had stayed longer, nothing seemed to be coming. So they seemed exhausted, and they had to part with a request for $800 million for loan.
Yes.
They did. But pressure was mounting, and they couldn't really access it till they stepped aside, and the new government came. They got that money, 800 million. So within 4 to 5 months of this administration, they have gotten about $1.95 billion.
According to the NBS.
According to the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, not any other. So they've gotten 700 on June 19th, $750 million. That was supposed to be for power generation. And I have a senior colleague who told me for the past 18 days, except he will get just a flash of electricity, seconds, And on June 27 of this year, $500 million. That was supposed to be for women empowerment. I don't know, whatever.
And so many more.
And you have on the June 13th, July 13th, Akpabio-led Senate also approved and formally approved that $800 million to be assessed. It has been assessed. On the September 20th, on September last month of this year, another $700 million. Yes. As I'm talking to you, fresh request is being made for another $400 million. That's supposed to be for cash transfer again, maybe because the money has been improved from 8,000 naira to 25,000 naira for the next 3 or 6 months. And there's also in talks in progress now for another $1.5 billion to support budget.
Aside the one,
there is $1.5 billion budget support for 2024 budget support. So I'm afraid World Bank could just show up one day and take over this entity.
From the report the other time, to round off now, what someone was mentioning, if we were taking this loans on productivity, would have been, I think you
it's regrettable we are not doing that. If I take a loan from you to buy my sunshades, to buy my shoes, then there's something wrong with me, but if I took that loan to create jobs, when China gives loan out, you see all these Chinese you see all over Lagos, Abuja, and Nasarawa, they are artisans. So the Chinese government created jobs for them, like offshore. Go work there, we have given them money. So they won't give you the money to fix railways here and allow your people to do the job. So what we are saying is that look at manufacturing industry here. Why can't we? How many vehicles has reduced from the ministers, from senators, or from the commissioners of government? Look, if you say we should sacrifice, the people should sacrifice. You must show the way. Lead by example at least.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a very wholesome conversation from the appeal court cases to federal government loans. Thank you very much, Mr. Likoshote. I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much, Mr. Eduma. It's been a wonderful. I really enjoyed this session. I really did. And I hope our audience also did. So if you did, then let's see you on Saturday next week for another wonderful edition. I am Layo Shubo for Lauren Show. Have a great weekend.